The Atlantic tropics remain very active. Good evening, I'm Mike Naso with this 11 p.m. midnight update, late night Monday, early Tuesday on the Atlantic Basin. We have a hurricane out there, Hurricane Nigel, spinning in the Atlantic, and boy has it been active. There's Nigel right there, getting better organized. Lee, what's left of Lee, is right about here in the far reaches of the North Atlantic. It slammed New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and caused a lot of problems, power outages, all that. But Lee is gone, and now Nigel is the system to watch. Here's the latest on Hurricane Nigel as of 11 p.m. Eastern Time from the Hurricane Center. Hurricane Nigel was at 28.6 north, 52.7 west. Winds up to 85 miles per hour. It's a solid Category 1 hurricane. Moving northwest at 12. Forecast to become either a high-end Category 2 or a low-end Category 3 major hurricane sometime Tuesday into Wednesday. Now, unlike Hurricane Lee, this thing's going to move much quicker right out because it's going to be, it's already rounding the western periphery of the high pressure, and with the upper level trough sweeping off the eastern seaboard, we know for sure, based on these models, Nigel is going to be up and out well before it even gets near Bermuda or the Canadian Maritimes. There's a look at it on the water vapor imagery, and it is not that impressive right now. It looks like there's dry air right in this northern part of the system, and that is impeding its intensification. It looks kind of skimpy, but it should strengthen beyond the 85 miles per hour that it is right now. Bermuda, here you are, so it looks kind of close on this image, but really it's going to remain far enough away from you to where, other than some potential high swells, you won't deal with anything like the tropical storm conditions you had with Hurricane Lee. Nigel makes it the 10th tropical storm since August 20th, and that is a record. Phil Klotzbach from Colorado State University, great guy, had the pleasure of chatting with him on several occasions. He said between August 20th and September 16th, we have had 10 tropical storms, and we've broke the old record that was 9 back during the pandemic year of 2020 when we had the busiest hurricane season on record. And when we take a look at the name list, it's like, how have we had 10 storms? Well, we had Tropical Storm Emily. That was pretty forgettable. Hurricane Franklin in the Caribbean, and then it became a Cat 4 as it moved out to sea. Gert was out there, didn't do much, and then it tried to come back. Harold went into Texas. And then we had Hurricane Idalia, the major hurricane landfall in the Florida Big Bend. Jose was out there out to sea. Katia was out there off Africa. Then we obviously had Lee, Margot, and now Nigel. So we've gone through 10 names since August 20th, certainly indicative of a busy hurricane season and not your average El Nino year. But we knew with that hot ocean water out there, we'd probably get a good burst of activity. That was the forecast from Klotzbach, and he was right. We had that burst of activity. We had many major hurricanes. Hurricane Franklin was a Category 4, Hurricane Idalia was a Category 4, Hurricane Lee was a Category 5, and we'll wait and see if Nigel becomes a Category 3. If so, then you'd be dealing with 4 major hurricanes, and that is quite a busy year, and we still have some to go. Here's the National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. Now, we think there's a possibility off the eastern seaboard here that there'll be a non-tropical area of low pressure, and that could become subtropical or potentially tropical and remain offshore, although it could move towards North Carolina. Right now, when we look out there, we don't see diddly, but watch this area here by about midweek. We could start to see, a lot of times at the tail end of a front, you'll get something develop and move on up very quickly, and that's what some of the computer models were indicating, especially the GFS. The second area here is a tropical wave that is forecast to leave Africa and become a high chance for another tropical storm or hurricane. And when we look at the satellite from that perspective, that wave that's just about to leave Africa appears to be it. We were watching, it doesn't look like much right now, but right in here, there seems to be a pretty good circulation spin. Watch this as it blows up right in there. And so this is the area we're watching as it leaves Africa to see if we get yet another storm off Africa. We've already had many this year, a very active Cape Verde tropical Atlantic hurricane season. And the long-range ensembles, they all show a system out there becoming a hurricane again. So we've had, Hurricane Lee moving out there. We had Hurricane Nigel. Now, could we have another hurricane? It's possible. The next two names, by the way, are Ophelia and Philippe. And those have been used before, and we'll wait and see if and when we get both storms, which one would be the one off the Carolina coast, which one would be the one off Africa. But right now, that's the European showing our system here near the Carolinas and showing another system off Africa. Now, as we go from September, this is September where we normally expect tropical storm development. We're there. This is where we'd expect it, where Lee went, where Nigel's going, mainly in this area of the Atlantic. Now, as we shift to October, watch what happens. Boom. It shifts here closer to the coast of the United States and the Caribbean. So we're going to watch this area here for tropical cyclone development. I've seen many, many storms in October come out of the Caribbean Sea, but we're not done off Africa yet, and I wanted to show you, back in the year 2000, way back in the year 2000, when I was tracking hurricanes, we had hurricanes off Africa that year very frequently. We had a Category 4 named Isaac that remained out at sea. One of the rare original I names that's still on the list. The only I name still not retired from the original 6 name lists in 1979, Isaac. Hurricane Isaac was out there in September of 2000. We had Hurricane Joyce, which ended up fizzling out, but it was headed for the Caribbean. This became Hurricane Keith, which was a Cat 4, and it impacted Mexico and Belize. However, what the point of this image is this was September 28th, and we still had storms, powerful hurricanes, off Africa. So we still have a good week and a half, 2 weeks before we get to that point. And I don't know if, with how busy it's been, we are done yet off the coast of Africa. So we're going to watch that very, very carefully. So that'll do it for the tropical update. Nigel, a Category 1 hurricane, should get stronger, could become a major hurricane as it loops here, but it doesn't have a lot of time to move west. It will turn up and out. Lee, we're done with you. You're way up here in the North Atlantic, never going to have to deal with you again. And then we'll watch off Africa off screen as a wave comes in. That could develop. We'll watch off the southeast coast, the tail end here of this trophiness. Look at that. This could sit and stall and do something, so we're going to keep a close eye. I'm Mike Nasa with the latest on the tropics. I'll talk to you next time.